Welcome to the Impact Lounge. Feel the sound. Legends in the ring making moves all around. We got the fire, the heart, the stories untold. This is our moment. Watch the magic unfold. Welcome to the Impact Lounge, where we reign. Kings and queens of the ring breaking chains. We taking wrestling to a whole new height. Under bright lights, we ignite the fight. Genesis to rebellion. The crowd still chanting.
What's up, jobbers? Happy Wednesday morning. It is your boy BQ. This is your Impact Lounge Impact review for February 27, 2025. So this hasn't happened to me before using StreamYard. Yesterday morning, I wake up to podcast for you guys at 3:15 in the morning. I get up very, very early, and it's not too big of a deal. I'm a morning person. I don't sleep a whole lot. That's still kind of early, though. I get up at 3:15 for you guys, record the entire podcast, upload it, and then I listen back. I didn't publish it yet, so you guys didn't see the upload. I listened back, and it did not record my microphone. So it is a podcast of 45 minutes of silence and sound bites. Like, it recorded the sound bites, but it did not record me speaking to you guys. So that is why you're getting a podcast on a Wednesday. This is probably the latest I've ever done this. I've probably dropped like a Wednesday night on you guys once in my career, but I apologize. I feel like I apologize each and every week for when these shows are coming out, but for this one, I truly do. Dropping on a Wednesday morning is not ideal. But enough of that. Let us get into the episode of Impact. Last week's episode was a live episode, and I saw that a lot of fans felt like the company didn't put their best foot forward for it, and I think the general consensus was this was a better episode. I didn't think last week's show was bad. It's just that I think that they felt like the Cologne's debut was going to hit a lot harder than it did, and I explained to you guys last week that is my favorite tag team of all time, so I'm happy they're here. But they're largely irrelevant in wrestling right now. You know, the end of their WWE run, they weren't doing a lot. They were released, and then they pretty much disappeared from the public eye in the United States. So, I mean, I was even wondering if they were going to wrestle again. You know what I mean? Like, they really kind of disappeared, fell off the face of the earth. I think the company thought that debut was going to hit a lot harder than it did. And you can tell because they're involving them in main event angles, and they've opened the show twice because that's what was written. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust after this. We don't know how long they're around for. It's going to be interesting to see how they adjust their creative and their booking after this because, again, I think they thought it was really going to hit and that they had a main event team on their hands. They don't. So that is that. I am your boy BQ. We're going to get into this episode of TNA Impact.
TNA Impact. Oh.
The show. Oh, by the way, I enjoyed watching the show on mute last week because I've kind of hit my Raywan and Hannafin limit for a little bit. So I did the same this week, and makes it a lot more enjoyable for me because I don't have all these things I need to complain about, or at least feel the need to complain about. So anyway, this kicks off with the system. Folks, I don't know what it is about these system promos. They go out there and it sounds like it's the pandemic era of TNA. Whatever, something with the way they pass the mic around and all have something to say, it's not connecting. Like it's like they are speaking to an empty arena. Alicia gets some heat with, do you want to know something? I think she beats it to death a little bit sometimes, but she gets heat with it. JDC with the shut up town or whatever it is he says. That's not, I mean, I can see why he thinks I would get over. I don't hate it, but it's not. Ever since Moose has formed the system, his promos, I don't know, he's like tried to make funny jabs at his opponents, and it's just not connecting. It's not hitting. The people don't care. I'm not saying disband the system. I love them. I think they're a great team. I think the fans are becoming a little desensitized to knowing every time we wrestle, there's going to be a beat down after the match, and then someone else is going to run out. Like, it's really the same formula with these guys every time, every week. You know what I mean? The way they do their promos, the way they do their backstage stuff, where you can see up their noses with the camera. Again, the beat downs. Everyone knows what's coming when these guys come out. And I just think the fans are just becoming desensitized to seeing them because they just aren't switching things up a little bit. So, but they do come out. They do cut this promo. They are addressing Leon Slater, Oba Femi, the NXT champion, which Moose is not going to beat him. And then he name drops the colognes. And so there's the theme throughout this episode. And I point this out a lot, but it really stood out this episode. The convenience of who walks into the shot and who shows up, and just the whole show. It's fake phony wrestling show. So they name drop the colognes. 5 seconds later, their music hits. So I played the crickets a second ago. Right there for the colognes, I played Los Coquis. The coqui in Puerto Rico is basically our cricket. They are little tiny frogs, and they come out at night, and you'll see them on the ground hopping around. And it's very similar to hearing crickets at night. You hear go coqui, 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 coqui. So that's what the colognes get, because when they come out, they also get basically crickets, and they get nothing and no pop, no reaction, no nothing. And again, this is BQ's team. Someone said in the in my Gilbert's chat the other day, the only person who cares about the colognes is BQ. You're probably right. And you can hear it and see it on TV. And these guys are coming out, and they're saying that they want to be part. They don't want to join the system, but they want to align themselves with the system. This went entirely too long. They're going to need to limit the colognes talking going forward, because they've had 2 talking segments because they're already written in the show. So they had to come out and do it. If this were WWE, they would have said, okay, we brought this team in, didn't hit, the people didn't react. They're probably not going to give them a live mic the next episode. So, that's just kind of the differences between taped and live television. But I think going forward, the cologne stuff is going to have to happen backstage. I think they can talk. I think they're good talkers. I think they're good wrestlers. But because there's no reaction, cut all your stuff backstage. That's just how I think they have to handle them going forward. But so long story short, they are setting the stage for somewhat of an alliance and teaming together going forward into the future. But the problem is, they came out and debuted last week, the colognes, and they lost. Now no one cares. After this, the king of the second segment, the queen of the second segment, Gia Miller.
Jesus Christ, that's perfect. Of course you're here right now.
And she's interviewing the greatest knockouts tag team in the history of TNA, Spitfire.
Tell me right now that I'm just a job. Tell me to my face.
You're just a job.
They're trying their damnedest to allow the Spitfire team to show some personality. So that's fine. That's fine. And they're talking about the stipulation later in the evening about the losers being the personal concierge for the winners. I could have sworn last week that Santino, our favorite character on the show, said if Ash and Heather lost, that that Iceman was going to be the concierge for Spitfire. I don't recall him saying that they had to. And then for whatever reason, Danny Luna said, "Well, if we lose, we'll be your personal concierge." Spitfire doesn't owe them anything. They're giving them a title shot. They don't have to throw in a stipulation, if we lose, we'll do this. We'll continue to talk about this match a little bit later, but I was very, very convinced that Ash and Heather were going to be the champions at Genesis. And I've been wrong in a couple predictions lately. Well, I'm wrong a lot, but kind of like Leon Slater a couple of weeks ago when he had the garbage match. I'm like, Leon Slater's gonna win. Why didn't he just win the tag team match the week before? But he lost, so they keep having him lose. I was wrong there. I was guaranteeing to you guys that the Elegance brand, if you will, we're gonna win the titles at Genesis. Then I was pretty confident they were gonna win them here too. But once they started throwing this ridiculous stipulation in there, I was like, Spitfire is not going to be the concierge for Ash and Heather. They're not going to do that. So at that point, they're kind of letting us know these bitches are still going to hold these titles. Like we're going to talk about them more a little bit later. Let's get into some more convenience. The system is walking backstage into like a multi-purpose room. Leon Slater happens to be there.
Here, I'm in charge.
Do you feel in charge?
And then shortly after that, the Hardys walk in.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And then, like 3 seconds after that, they start brawling, and here comes security. This is where security's hanging out in this fake pony wrestling show in the back, where they they show up at the most. Let's just focus on the show. I'm going to start to lose it. Or it's too early to lose it. It's too early in the morning. It's too early in the podcast to lose it. Anyway, this episode, lots of convenience. I told you that. People just happen to be in the right place at the right time. It's getting old. See, for me, I understand that wrestling is not real. And I say this all the time. We want to perceive that it's real, though. And it best connects with the audience when it's perceived to be real. Vince Russo, who I'm a fan of, I know a lot of you are not. He has says when he was writing the show, he would always say, "Would this happen in real life? Would someone react like this in real life? Would someone say this in real life? Is it realistic? Is it a realistic real life scenario?" So when it's like cameras on the system walking, they walk through the door. Here comes Leon Slater. Here comes Hardy. Here comes security. I mean, come on, come fucking on. Anyway, let's get into the matches. We finally get a match here. These are very Monday Night Raw-esque openings. I've said that the last few weeks. I don't think that's something that TNA fans want. I don't think they're into the long talking segment. I understand that they are trying to set up something for later in the show. Totally understood. But there has to be some kind of balance because the beginning it's been too much talking so far. Your ring announcer for the evening is Mackenzie Mitchell. Your first match of the evening is so again, I said I listened to this on mute. But first, Mike Santana comes out.
That's nasty.
And then when I saw his opponent, I said, let me rewind and let me turn on the volume to hear Tom Hannafin react to this guy. And I got to check my notes because I don't remember this guy's name off the top of my head. Mike Santana goes one-on-one with Oro Mensah.
Who?
Oro Mensah. Tom Hannafin. Look who's here. All right. This is not a bad quality to have as a play-by-play announcer because you want to sell what we see on screen, right? You want to act like you care. That was a problem Matt Stryker had when he came over, was that he did not act like he cared about what he saw on the screen. Okay? Hannafin is a lot better about that. He's very good about that. But is there any play-by-play guy in wrestling who works harder at trying to polish a turd and call it a diamond than Tom Hannafin? Oh my God, it's Jake something. Laredo Kid's a former digital media champion, Ray Wall. Savannah Evans is the #1 contender. Like professional fucking turd polisher. This guy, Tom. Old phony Tom. Anyway, Leon Slater. Mike Santana obviously wins this match with spin the block, the STB. Okay, I'm going to stop trying to talk like Hannafin. Obviously, he wins the match. After this, they show that he is walking around backstage. And he's looking for Ali. Actually, I got that wrong. That's not what happened there. I do this every episode. I get something completely wrong and I have to backtrack. After this, that is not what it was. This was not the worst. Mike Santana was walking around backstage. This was what I thought was the best part of the show, actually. And it was Mustafa Ali.
If you vote for me, all of your wildest dreams will come true.
And he had essentially like an ad, a commercial, where he's talking about Mike Santana. And he's got the cabinet behind him. And he is saying, let me refer to the notes. I like a cold drink as much as the next guy, unless the next guy is Mike Santana. Talking about him wearing sunglasses indoors. If drinking your career away is wrong, Mike doesn't want to be right. I've been telling you guys, and I know you guys agree, they're creative and their angle is the best thing going on the show. When Ali was in the company the first time, and he was the X Division champion, and he was in a feud with Speedball Mike Bailey, it was also a really good feud, but it was 99% due to Ali. Mike Bailey was adding almost nothing to it until like the very last episode before Slammiversary. This kind of tells me that Ali is the driving force behind these things because it stands out so much compared to the rest of the show and the stories and the creative that they're doing throughout the show. Like this stands out. He has always stood out when he's on the show. Mike Santana is not going to do, I keep pointing out the convenience, right place, right time, all that crap. Mike Santana is not going to do that. Mike Santana is not going to do phony. So even it was maybe like 2 months ago, he's cutting a promo. He starts talking and the system walks into it immediately. His response was, didn't you just hear this guy say rolling or action or whatever? Like he at least addressed that, hey, I'm doing a promo. It was announced. Do you guys not hear that I'm talking? Rather than the normal, I'm cutting a promo. Someone just walks in and the wrestler's all shocked about it. So he's not going to do fake and phony. Ali is not going to do fake and phony. Even though he's a character, we're buying the character. We are buying into it. It's not, it doesn't feel forced. Like it's very natural what he's doing, even though he's playing a character. But it's definitely the best part of the show. And I'm, in the back of my mind, I'm just holding on to this because I want to see going forward when Ali has other stories. If we just continue to say, "Hey, he's the best part of the show," it's just going to tell me he's the driving force behind these. And I'm hoping that he does win this feud and wrestles Joe Hendry because if you look at the Joe Hendry, not the title run, but even just the build up to the title, he never was involved in anything that had any kind of heat. He wrestles Nick Nemeth twice. We don't get heat the first time. And then when we know they're going to wrestle again, we just kind of breathe a sigh of relief and say, oh, well, they're going to build heat for the second match. They still didn't. And nothing he does has heat. And we're going to talk about it again at the end of the show because they did it again. But they just shoehorned Joe Hendry into all the episodes. Because as I've told you guys a million times, like that is not the guy they wanted to be the world champion. They had to make him the champion. They had to adjust. But because of that, he's just shoehorned into the episodes. You can tell it's like, okay, we need Joe Hendry on the show. We need to play his music. So let's insert him here, even though it really doesn't fit what they're doing on screen. And I'm going to talk about it more. I'm going to talk about it more in the main event when we get there. But this would benefit Joe Hendry to actually have a feud with Ali, because if he's doing such great work and he's getting his feuds over and getting his opponents over, like that can only benefit Joe Hendry, who really has just had very stale feuds, you know. But at the end of this ad that they ran, the little commercial, Hannafin goes, "Classless by Ali. I turn your attention," and starts running down the card. So again, not completely, but pretty much no selling what we just saw. That's 2 weeks in a row that they should have just did the Ali segment and then went to commercial, instead of forcing Hannafin to have to react to what he just saw, because he kind of doesn't. He just no sells it and then gets into the card. It's better to just come back from the commercial and him go into the card. That the flow would be so much better. Now after this is where it shows Mike Santana walking around. And it takes him all of 2 seconds to run into Tasha Steelz and the gray hand jobs. And he is going back and forth with them. And then guess who the fuck walks up for the first time?
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
There was entirely too much Santino on this damn show. And people are always messaging me, are they going to move on from Santino? And they are aware that it is like well past its shelf life, okay? But the answer that I got didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like they wanted to kind of keep it going anyway. And then it just kind of dawned on me, well, they have the partnership with NXT and Ariana Grande. Ariana Grace is on the show. As long as she's going to be on Impact, Santino needs to be on the show. They need to have that dynamic. I know they don't interact a whole lot, but as long as this partnership is going and she's a fixture on the show, they have to have Santino there. So I think that's what it is. They know that it's bad, but they have no choice. I think they can limit him on screen, but I also think there's probably people there that say, well, the NXT WWE audience knows Santino, so we have to have him on screen as much as possible. Because if you notice, the wrestlers with WWE ties are the ones who are like really getting the spotlight on the show right now. Not from top to bottom, but I mean, you know, it just kind of seems like to me that they're going out of their way to do that. Next match on the show, wrestling for the first time in 5 years, Tessa Blanchard.
Oh, I don't like this. That if the Nuggets don't win this.
And she is wrestling. What is her name? Kelsey Heather.
Didn't even go here.
The latest jobber that the TNA fan base is on Twitter trying to get signed. So she is a local competitor. She's a dancer for the Orlando Magic. Her outfit looked like she walked into an anime convention and just grabbed random outfits from people and just threw it on. And just compiled it into one creative looking outfit. So this is Tessa's first time wrestling on TV. And we're gonna talk a little logic here. And not that I want her wrestling the knockouts right now, but if you're like, hey, you will wrestle next week, and they did it last week too, and she said she wasn't cleared. If you will wrestle, why are they giving her jobbers? Like they're treating it like it's some sort of punishment. You know, like you will compete next week. We're gonna give you someone that you're gonna beat in 6 seconds, but you will put your fucking gear on and wrestle. So she wrestles Kelsey Heather. This was too long. This was too competitive, though. She didn't beat her in 6 seconds. She should have. I don't think anyone should get any offense in on Tessa Blanchard that isn't a knockout. When she was having her feud with Jordynne Grace, you noticed Jordynne Grace never laid a hand on her. I was like, okay, well, they're building Tessa to be very, very strong and dominant. She goes out and wrestles this cheerleader, and the girl's got some hope spots and some roll-ups. Like, no. What are you doing? What are you doing? No one should be touching Tessa Blanchard, who isn't signed to the company. So that is my critique on that. During the match, it's showing Masha Slamovich watching on screen. She's staring at a blank screen most likely, but she's looking on, and they are already foreshadowing that Tessa's going to challenge for the title, and that is just something that bothers me because Masha is already in a feud for to defend the title. Every time they do this, even though we know Cora Jade is not beating Masha Slamovich, but every time they do this, they're just telling us in advance, okay, this guy or this girl's not going to beat the champion because we have to get to the next person. Like there's such a thing as building someone off to the side and just, they're doing a decent job with Mike Santana, but every once in a while he still drops, I will be world champion. Just like don't even mention it. Just build this person off to the side. And then when their time comes, this is like a weird comparison, but in the like second season of NWA, I think, Camille she didn't wrestle a whole lot. She was a little bit more of a valet, but they just delivered her in a way that she was almost disconnected from the women's division, and then all of a sudden the champion needs an opponent and Camille steps forward and it comes off real big because it's like, oh shit. Because they were doing little things to just kind of build her off to the side, sometimes attacking the men, whatever, but they were building her off to the side and not even putting the seed in our brains that she was going to challenge for the title. Now we know TNA booking, Tessa's going to wrestle for the title sooner than later, but I just think that she would benefit from at least one decent feud off to the side. And they think they're doing that with Laying Lee. They're not. But they were already foreshadowing that she's going to wrestle. So anyway, Tessa wins the match. Masha's back there staring at the blank screen. Gia Miller walks up. And then like 3 seconds later, here comes Cora Jade.
I got a lot of discipline, but 25-year-old with them big cans and that peanut butter skin.
Just no one saw her coming. Masha didn't. GM didn't. Nothing. So anyway, Cora Jade comes out. She lays down the beat down.
Leave that.
That is wrong.
Oh!
She lays the beat down. And then she says, I had to write this down. So she fakely tells her, I don't know why you're worried about Tessa when I'm going to take your title at Sacrifice. Cora Jade is very lucky she's hot because she can't talk. She doesn't wrestle that well. I mean, her promos are like sky blue, velvet sky. Shout out to girls with the name Sky. Sky blue, velvet sky, bad. Mike Bailey, bad. Don't they have a promo class in NXT? Like the few times I've watched NXT, I've never heard a good promo. Everyone sounds fake. Everyone sounds like they're playing a part rather than trying to come off convincingly. They just sound like bad actors and bad actresses who are playing the part of a wrestler on a TV show. It's like some Lifetime movie shit. But if they have promo, I just don't understand. But she has absolutely no charisma. She is lucky that she looks the way she does because that is what's getting her on TV. The same security guards from earlier very conveniently run up. This is a completely different part of the building. But here they fucking are, same dudes to break it up. The best security money can buy, baby. And sorry for hitting the wrong soundbite earlier, but the next segment is the TNA World Champion Joe Love Handle Hendry.
Leave that.
And he is talking with Elijah.
The inner child cries from deep within. Nurture me, brother. We both.
This is the worst song I've ever heard.
That soundbite's a little long. I might have to trim that one a little bit. The one thing I will say about Muffin Top Joe that he's doing very, very well is that as goofy as the character is, he is tying some realism into what he does. And what I mean by that is like when he's doing the song a couple weeks ago, and even when he's singing Now's the Time That the Next Challenger Interrupts Me, he's addressing the what they do in wrestling, what they do in TNA, where we just know every segment is going to go like this, it's going to do this, someone's coming out. He addresses it ahead of time. And then here he's even saying to Elijah, I know how this is gonna go. We're friends, we're teams, teaming up. You're gonna turn on me. You're gonna wrap a guitar around my head, whatever. He's like addressing these things that we know as wrestling fans when we're watching the show are gonna happen. So yeah, Elijah's likely gonna turn on this guy. I was really surprised Elijah wasn't in the arena for this episode because I think they think colognes were the ones that were gonna hit and that Elijah would be okay, whatever. But it was really the other fucking way around. So, at least they got him on the show for the fans watching on TV. But yeah, so little backstage interaction. I'm praying that the Rebellion main event is not Joe versus Elijah. They're doing Mustafa Ali and Mike Santana too early, in my opinion. I was really hoping it would be at Rebellion. They're going to do it at Sacrifice. I think that's the show. And I don't want to be too mad at that. I'm not someone. I know a lot of the fans want the pay-per-views and the TNA Plus shows to be like on par. Like they don't want to feel like they're watching a one night only show when they're watching the TNA Plus stuff. But this feud is too good to give us more to sink our teeth into because it's too good. But they're giving it to us. I do think that the company feels like they can circle back around to it at any time because I think Ali's going to win it and probably wrestle that Rebellion for the title. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. As much as I wish it was dragged out to Rebellion, they'd probably need Ali to challenge for the belt at Rebellion. And depending on how they do this, they can circle back around. Well, they will circle back around because, as I always tell you guys, the feuds continue until the babyface wins. That is how TNA does it. The only exception is if they have to put the title on a heel. But other than that, you can't look at any feud that they do and say, okay, the heel won and then moves on to the next thing. They do not do that. They wrestle until the fucking babyface wins. They will do that with Mike Santana as well. So he's probably going to lose. It's probably not going to be clean, but he will. And they will circle back around to it and continue that story. So that's probably what they're going to do. Next match on the card, we get Casey Navarro.
But I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
And he's taking on Bulletproof Steve Macklin. They need to be careful with the bulletproof thing. This is why. And I knew they were going to call him this because, a couple months ago, it was TNA Plus and Tom Hannafin constantly throughout the match, Steve Macklin has bulletproof. Okay. There's a guy by the name of Bulletproof Blake Troop who was in NWA for a while. I don't think he's with them at the moment. He's a shoot fighter. I would imagine he's got it trademarked. I really do. I would not be surprised if there wasn't a cease and desist that came at Steve Macklin for using that nickname because it already exists. So we will see. But for right now, he is bulletproof. And he takes on, or I'm sorry, they had a match one-on-one, went a little long in my opinion. And the reason I say that is I think Casey Navarro should be treated a little bit more like a jobber, but that's not how they present him on screen. I think the company might see a little something in him for when, the eventual first class breakup, because everyone always does. They probably see a little something in him where he could step into the X division and have a little bit of a run. I don't think he's going to win the title, but he could be a player in the division, so they give him a little more offense than he should get, but they had a very good match. The matches this episode were better than last week's episode. But Macklin gets the win. Out comes the Raw King and the star of the hit TV show Vinyl Obsession, Eric Young.
Those times are like the rah speeches and like getting everybody up because like nobody really get motivated off that stuff anyway.
And he is flanked by the Northern Armory, Kid Icarus, and the Wizard Walt Williams.
Well. Isn't Mr. Bullshit and Doctor I'm full of shit?
When I give guys names. Obviously I have my nicknames, but when I completely change someone's name, like Tank and Tyrese, Kid Icarus, and the Wizard Walt Williams, that is because I'm telling you, I can't. At one point, I was unable to remember their names, and that I don't know who's who. They either look similar, or they act similar, or dress similar, or something to where I can't differentiate who's who, or they have very plain names. You understand? So that is like me remembering what their names are, because now I know their names are Judas Icarus and Travis Williams, but like for the first couple months I was like, I cannot commit those freaking bland ass names to memory, so I have to completely nickname them. So I learned that in some book I was reading when I was a child. If you want to remember something, just add some ridiculous kind of nickname to it, and that'll help you out. The only person that watches Vinyl Obsession is Mike Gilbert.
Oh, hi, Mark.
But it is a hit TV show. So they come out and I want to say this about, and they're blah, 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 they're talking whatever. I want to say this about Sinner and Saint. I don't even know if that's still their name anymore. I say it all the time. They just look like two guys, that work at Home Depot. All right. And I would not recognize them if I walked past them on the street, in a store, or whatever. I would not recognize them. But they are trying. When they were part of Northern Army with Josh Alexander, they were doing the jackets. They're trying to do something to make them not plain on TV. They are making the attempt. They come out this weekend like denim jackets. I say TNA. I also don't understand why the heels are wearing the memorabilia, the merchandise, because that someone who wears the company merchandise, you would say, are company guys. But you see Tessa wearing it. You see the Northern Armory. You see Primo and Epico. They're all wearing TNA gear. Anyway, they've got these denim jackets, but they look like two models. And let me not use the term models, but you understand what I'm saying, because that's a strong categorization. But they come out looking like two models from a JCPenney catalog. So there's still some work to do in the presentation of these guys. After this, on this fake phony wrestling show, Tessa Blanchard is walking around backstage. She is, for whatever reason, she has already wrestled. She is coming from the exit of the arena. Exit / entrance, whatever you want to call it. I don't know why. She's walking, and of course she does not see, until she's 4 feet away from her, Lei Ying Li.
From Chingchong, China.
And she says, "Do you have a staring problem?" And I want to talk real quick. Lei Ying Li's English is decent. It's probably better than Hikaru Shida's or something. Her English is decent, but it's good to limit her to very small sentences and phrases. I'm the same way at work. My Spanish stinks, but I keep it to what I know I can say, and I don't get, because I have to deal with a lot of immigrants at work. So I keep it to what I know I can say, and I don't let the conversation go somewhere where I'm unable to communicate anymore. I have to focus on what I know. And with Lei Ying Li, I think they're doing the same thing. They're not going to give her a live mic. She's not going to be saying, she's not going to be backstage with Gia Miller. I think they're going to keep her at saying one-liners and one sentence, two sentences. You know what I mean? So it just does not expose any issues she has in speaking. But her English is pretty good. It's good enough, but probably not what they truly need for her to cut promos and things of that nature. But again, everything's very, very convenient. They're getting into it, and guess who the fuck walks up?
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
And he lets Tessa Blanchard know that he is going to be taking on Lady Lee at the TNA Plus show at Sacrifice. So we're getting that. I really thought last week would have benefited when Lei Ying Li was on the doctor's table and had the mist, if Tessa just started beating her down. She's blind, she can't see. would have played so well into the bully character. For whatever reason, she just walked off. But Tessa is trying to big time her and say, "Hey, the star is here." She is trying to big time her, so that's good. Next match we get personal concierge.
That's my dad, but don't worry, he's cool.
Really? He doesn't look cool.
And he is announcing the Elegance brand. Ash by Elegance.
Come on, Teddy. Come on, Teddy.
And Heather by Elegance.
That's an erection.
Yeah. It's all her fault.
And their opponents are the greatest team in the history of TNA wrestling. The TNA Knockouts champion Spitfire, Jody Threat.
I just felt like running.
And Danny Luna.
God damn, bit like Mewtwo.
So the match was a lot better than people were going to expect. They're doing a really good job of showing off Danny Luna's power from week to week. They used to just call her a powerhouse, but she wasn't doing anything special. Now she's, they have her spots every show where it's like, well, what did Danny Luna do in the ring this week? She did the deadlift, basically German suplex on Heather by Elegance, who was on the outside, right before the match where they finished it, and they won. I guess Ash is going to be off TV for a little bit. But as I told you guys, when they came out with the stipulation that the loser was going to be the personal concierge, that just lets you know that Spitfire was going to win. Also, when Spitfire came out dressed like Minnie Mouse, I knew they were not going to win. Actually, I say Spitfire, when Ash and Heather came out dressed like Minnie Mouse, I knew they were not going to win. Heather looked great. Ash looked foolish. And between this and the after match stuff where they were doing the concierge work, I don't even know what to call it, doing the errands. Ash is the most unserious wrestler in this company. She hasn't taken, with the exception of her one match with Jordan Grace, the first one, she hasn't taken anything serious that she does. Everything is a joke. As I've told you many times, she thinks she is very funny. She is not. So anyway, the match is a lot better than it had business being, better than anyone expected. Spitfire wins. They continue to show after this. By the way, when they were interviewing with Gia Miller, Danny Luna's like, I'm going to have him clean my gear, wash my gear, because my gear stinks. Why are you wearing smelly gear to the ring? She didn't say it's going to stink. She said it stinks. Like, she is in clothes that she did not wash. So that means she traveled with dirty clothes, or she's just wearing her clothes from the week before. Makes zero sense on this fake phony wrestling show. And then throughout the night, we're just going to address this right now. The first segment has Heather and Ash walking around. And Spitfire comes over from behind and says, whoa, and they're trying to let him know you're going to do this, you're going to do this. The personal concierge walks up, and he, on brand, is saying, I'll do it. Like, that's his job. You know what I'm saying? Like, these two girls are too glamorous and all those things. I'll do it. So, cool. Guess who walks up after this?
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Santino. And he reminds them that the stipulation was that Ash and Heather are the personal concierge, not the actual personal concierge. It's becoming the Santino show. It's becoming, Santino's the magic man. He just shows up wherever something's going down in the arena. It does not matter what part. It doesn't matter what room. Like, he's just there. He's not in gorilla. He's not watching the show. At least Scott wore the headset and tried to give the visual that he was the impression that he was watching the show, that he was in gorilla. You know what I'm saying? They show Santino. He's just backstage on his phone, things like that. I'm like, this is the worst authority figure ever. I swear. I can't take anything serious when the wrestlers are like in this like intense, conversation backstage, and Macklin's like, someone like Steve Macklin says, I'm going to go talk to Santino. Like, I can't take that serious. Well, matchmaking Santino. Anyway, let's move on. This is not the last time we're gonna see Santino on it. I'm sorry, I got so fired up about Santino, I didn't make my point that I was gonna say. Throughout the show, they're showing Heather and Ash do random chores and whatever that Spitfire's asking them to do. I understand we're watching a taped TV show. Okay. The couple times that they've been live, they point out the fact that they're live. You know, Hannafin, we're live for the first time. They're not going to get on there and say, hey, welcome to a tape show of Impact. You know, like obviously they're not going to do that. They will point out when they're live. They're not going to point out when they're taped, but they are still doing the show trying to communicate that it is real. That the perception is that the show is happening in real time and that it's real. So if it's happening in real time, why is it showing Ash and Heather do all these errands for them in a cinematic fashion with music and sound effects? That would work if you're showing it next week. Hey, this is what happened last week, but they're showing it like it's real time. And sound effects, music, cutting, they're inside 1 second, outside the next. Fake phony wrestling show. Oh my gosh. And these are the details that obviously I point out on a week-to-week basis that like maybe you don't care about. But to me, if you want the wrestling, you want to deliver the show like it's real, and you want as much on the show to feel like it's real. But like when 5% of it is real, with Mike Santana, Ali, and the other 95 is doing phony shit, like that's just not going to connect. That's why I was saying on my mailbag show, I don't see myself watching wrestling past 50, because it's just not geared towards, in my opinion, it's just not geared towards older adults. I just think it's too just childish at times, and just too unbelievable. I'm not suspending my disbelief in anything that I see. So at some point, I'm just gonna be like, "Yo, I'm too old for this shit." That's just kind of the way that I feel. Next match on the show is Mance Warner,
All Mud Show garbage wrestler,
accompanied by the digital media champion. Watch out, Laredo Kid's coming for you, Steph DeLander.
Everybody's been real nice.
Well, that's because you have big jugs.
And he's taking on Sammy. Excuse me, I almost called him Sammy Callahan. He is Salami Calorie Ham, the bread machine.
Oh, you gotta give him that huck too and spit on that thing. You get me?
He's fat.
I told you guys I would sacrifice my podcasting career over this. I said these guys are going to have a garbage match. They are not going to have a one fall to the finish match. And on freaking brand, the match starts. It lasts about 45 seconds. They go to the outside. The goof ref is there, so we know this is not serious. They go to the outside, and the match is thrown out within seconds. Even though the match is thrown out, they're still continuing to brawl. The goof ref is standing there with his hands and as he's still officiating the match. He's not trying to get between them, stop what they're doing. He's not telling them to ring the bell, ding, 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 to let people know, hey, the match is over. The bell didn't even ring to begin with. He never even called for. I don't think he called for the bell. No, he probably did. I probably just missed it. And then they continue to have a very fake pull apart brawl. The same security guards from the other couple segments, who were in completely different parts of the arena, run down, and they're trying to break this up. And then this is going on for a while. And then guess who the fuck's music hits?
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
He lets them know that I keep calling it Sacrifice. I hope that's the name of the show. I never know the names of the TNA Plus shows. I don't like the TNA Plus shows. That is why, because I'm the worst wrestling fan on the planet. I just want to watch Impact Weekly and the 4 pay-per-views. I don't want to watch another 3-hour show every month. I'm the worst wrestling fan on the planet. I'm the worst podcaster on the planet. I'm number one. I'm just barely inching out Denise Salcedo. And then, but I'm number one. I'm the worst. Okay. Garbage match, no disqualification, no count out, no rules, anything goes.
Lazy booking.
We just saw a garbage match 2 weeks ago on the screen. Street fight, no DQ, between JDC and Leon Slater. There were next match on the card. King of the Block Party, Frankie Kazarian.
It's a block party. I'm not playing with y'all, bro.
His gimmick should be that he just comes down to the ring and starts blocking people on Twitter on the way to the ring. His opponent is Ace Austin.
Is this your card?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
It's not, is it?
No.
Obviously, very, very good match. You know that when these two get together, they're going to have a good match. Every Frankie Kazarian match is good to me. I just think he is an example of someone who, even though he's not outright like saying, "Hey, I'm the world champion," we know that's the gimmick because he's got the trophy. But they're just doing his thing off to the side, and they are booking him in a way that he, kind of like when he tapped out Sami Callahan the other day. Yeah, it's because Mance Warner got involved, but it was a good visual. Hey, I tapped someone out on the roster. He beats Ace Austin. That's good. Like, he's winning matches. But and sometimes they're cheating to do it, but they're doing it in a way that he is somewhat looking strong off to the side doing his thing, so that when they need him, they can insert him into the angle and he's already been built up somewhat. He could use a couple clean wins, but, small potatoes. So it's not the Rascals, but Wesley, aka Genuine, and Tank and Tyrese get involved. That is an R&B supergroup, TGT. Tank, Genuine, and Tyrese dropped one of the worst R&B albums ever that I was very excited about when I bought it. Remember unpackaging the CD? Oh, let me get into this TGT. No. Anyway, they get involved. They allow Frankie Kazarian to slingshot Ace Austin into the ring, catches him in a cutter, and wins. So didn't win with a finisher. I'm always a big fan of that. If you can win a match without a finisher or a cutter, BQ is erect. I am into that. So then there's a post-match beatdown. Of course, we know this is coming. And then the music hits. It's the Rascals.
One word. Would I use dope? Nope.
And again, I'm going to bring some common sense, some realism here, whatever you want to call it. They come out running out with chairs, okay? So what happened in the back? They were running through the arena with chairs. They stopped in Gorilla to say, "Hey, hit our music." And then the music played, and then they came running out again. It's like the scene from Ninja Turtles where they're just like hanging out in the elevator, like bobbing their head, making music, and then it opens, and then they run out with their weapons ready to attack. Yeah, so just fake phony wrestling show. We need a fake phony soundbite. It's coming. I got it. I got one. I actually found one. Every time we see something fake and phony, we're gonna have to drop it. So we know that they're having the 6-man tag team match coming up sooner than later. I think that's it. Also on TNA Plus. Let's get into the main event of this program.
Oh, and I kick out.
Who do we got? We got the System. We got Moose.
Damn you, Moose.
We've got Eddie Edwards.
All right, son, I'm gonna need those 2 hams back.
I don't have any hams.
Lift up your shirt, son.
He's fat!
And Brian Myers.
What is she going to think when she comes in here? Oh, look, he's got a billion toys.
And they are taking on the Hardys. I already played the sound drop earlier. Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. And the TNA World Champion. Not the TNA, the NXT World Champion. Oh, what does this motherfucker Obamacare?
If you like your doctor or healthcare plan, you can keep it.
Or Oba Femi. Very good looking guy. Big jack dude. When he came out last week, I had to laugh because they hit the music. And I forgot he was a surprise on the show too, but They hit the music, and these guys are getting their butt kicked in the ring, and he is walking like he's on his way to go next door to the neighbor to ask for some sugar. No sense of purpose whatsoever. So they have a 6-man tag team match. I'm not going to get into the blow by blow. I never do anyway. I feel bad because the system are all forced to wrestle in t-shirts because Eddie Edwards is on the seafood diet. Seafood, you eat it. So now Brian Myers and Moose, these guys who like work on their bodies, Dango, have to wear t-shirts. Anyway, good main event. At the end, the Colognes get involved. So they set that up in the beginning of the show. The Colognes are going to align themselves with the system. They come down. They get dumped like sacks of shit out of the ring. They look like fools. So people are going to continue not to care about them. Dumps them like sacks of shit. However, that does lead to Moose being able to hit this. I believe he hit a spear on Matt Hardy and won. He hit a really, really nice spear on Femi, which is a good visual because he's not going to beat him. But, it's good for him to leave on top, and for Femi in the closing segment to kind of be on his back. And, they did this because Moose has lost to Jeff several times. So he's got to pin someone. Moose has to look strong. So the logical person was for him to beat Matt Hardy in this match. Matt Hardy can take pins, and it does not affect the Hardys and their aura at all. So again, because this is a system segment, there is a post-match beatdown because that is the only way they know how to further anything on screen is to have some kind of beatdown. They do this every single time with the system, every single week, every match that they have, that is what happens. You just know ahead of time they're going to do that. So it's a big brawl. Joe Hendry's music hits. And he runs out. And this is what I'm telling you guys. They are just shoehorning him into the show. He has nothing to do with this. He's like kind of been mixing it up with the system here and there, but he hasn't had like this outright feud with them. They're just throwing him in there as a body. And they just have to get him on the show. They have to play the music. And that's what they're doing. That's what I'm telling you guys. They had no creative plans for this guy as a champion. They just have to, they know he's popular, so they know they can just throw him out there. They don't have to do any kind of compelling storylines. And I was also saying to myself, why are the system and the Hardy still wrestling? Like this just will not end. And the system doesn't ever beat them. They did in this sense. They, because they had Moose and Moose needs to win, but all the previous matches, like the system never beats these guys. The Hardys always win. The Hardys don't lose. So man, the post. I'm sorry, I'm pausing on you guys here because I could not believe that they have the balls to end the show like this. They're having the post match beatdown. You think it's going off air? Like usually, I've hit pause I've hit end at this point. You think it's going off air, and then it happens.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Santino. And I have the volume up at this point. Hannafin says, it's Santino's in the impact zone. Motherfucker, Santino has been on this show like 9 times up to this point. And he announces at Sacrifice that there will be a ladder match. Again, I really hope this show is Sacrifice. There will be a ladder match between Moose and Jeff Hardy. So another garbage match on the show. They're doing this because they are not going to pin Jeff Hardy. Moose needs to win the match, but they are not going to pin Jeff Hardy at all. Matt is always going to be the one to take the pins. Moose is going to lose to Femi. He needs the win here, obviously. And they're going to do it in a ladder match because, again, they are not going to pin Jeff Hardy under any circumstances. So he has to lose in a match where his shoulders are not on the mat. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Santino show this week. I will do my absolute best to not record so late here for the next show. But unfortunately, that was just the cards I was dealt. That's going to do it for me, folks. I am your boy, BQ. I'm out. Peace.